Oh, that won't focus.
Hello, thank you for calling. Transcendental dinosaur visual it is.
At the tone, please say your name, then press pound.
AJ. Hello, this is Kent Hovind. I get on the phone right now.
Yeah, okay. Hey, Kent Hovind here. Can you hold just a minute? I'm in a meeting. I'll be done in about 30 seconds.
Sure.
Okay, good. Hang on. Some guy told me this is really nice. I was like, yeah, I mean, it's $1,600 so it's looking pretty. It's brand new, and you gotta get a tire. So that's it. That's brand new. Okay. All right. Well, I'll let you know if the couple's gonna come. I think we may send them back north. So. But you get it ready either way. Okay, hello, yes, sir. Kent Hovind here.
Hi, Kent. Hi, Kent. So I got a comment on. I did a survey for my YouTube channel, and I got a comment on one of the responses saying to call this number, and it said something along the lines of that God loves me and you're trying, something like that. So I just thought I'd take you up on that.
Is this AJ?
Yes, it is.
Hello?
Yes.
I'm sorry, what now?
Yes, it is.
Oh, good. Yeah. I'm commanded. I love everybody. I love everybody. You want me Debbie over there? Yeah, take handle that with all Debbie. Yeah. You have done, I think, intentionally, damage to the cause of Christ, damage to my reputation unnecessarily, but that's your choice. But God does love you, whether you believe in Him or not. But He's a fair judge. He's going to only give you what you deserve. He's going to measure you against His law, whether you like it or not. If you live in a country, you abide by their laws. If you live on planet Earth, you abide by God's laws. You can deny that they exist if you want, that's fine. But,
sure. What you say that I've done damage to the cause of Christ? Could you be more like? What do you mean by that?
Well, why do you publish the videos that you publish? Why have you claimed that I'm wrong or good things that I'm wrong scientifically? Typically, all we've ever seen is there's the book, there's acceptance. You can believe whatever you want to believe, and I'm sure you do, but it's a religion and don't even know it. You think you're on the side of the science, and that's sad. You're on the side of a pagan religion, which has, I think, no common sense. I think if you give your heart to the Lord and do something for God with your life, you're going to not one day. I hope it's a long time from now, but it'll happen. And then what? Based on what you believe now, what happens if you die?
Well, when you say that dogs produce dogs, do you mean that a dog will only give birth to another dog?
That is correct, and they only come from other dogs. But you like to imagine if you go back millions of years, it was different. It was not different. It's all in the history of humanity. Nobody's ever seen a dog come from something other than a dog. And you're going to fly that any kind of animal you want, hawks and eagles and hamsters. What you guys teach, you teach that dogs and mosquitoes are related. This is a false teaching. It is a lie. It is not scientific. It is, and you're welcome to believe something stupid like that, but it's not science, and you shouldn't be promoting it to kids. I think it's unfortunate that you have devoted your life to spread such a dumb theory, but that doesn't bother me. I have devoted my life to spreading the truth, and I think it's obvious there's a designer to the world. I don't know any more than He's revealed in His Word. I believe He's not only designed the world, He revealed Himself to us in His Word. I think God is obligated to not only tell us what the rules are, but preserve that, preserve the record. I'm very strongly of the conviction that God wrote, a guy is man to write the Bible and preserved it all through history, and I don't want to have a copy of it. So, I know you don't believe any of that. That's okay. But no, I'll be glad to debate you anytime and any of your friends. I'd rather be friendly. I'd like to see you come to Christ, but if it has to be confrontational, okay. I don't like that. I don't like to have debates on people who differ, but it's necessary. My dad was a Marine, World War II. He was the sweetest, kindest, gentlest man you'd ever meet. But you had an enemy trying to take over your country, so you had to go shoot him. You didn't like it, but that's just the way it goes. So I'm honored you called. I'll be glad to discuss any topic with you. But I think you've settled in already in your mind. You believe in evolution, and you're kind of stuck with that. You're kind of determined to hold on to that. And you have no evidence for it at all. So how did you come to the change? What happened?
Well, I just think that when it comes to evolution, I think that you have what I consider to be good evidence for it. But when you talk about evolution, I feel like we're not talking about the same thing, because I feel like when you say that dogs produce dogs, but we never see like a dog produce a non-dog, I don't know what you mean by non-dog. And I feel like you're saying, well, a dog never gives birth to an animal that's not a dog. Well, of course, I wouldn't say, I don't think that evolution says a dog is going to give birth to an animal that's not a dog. But I feel like when you say dogs produce dogs, but we don't see a dog and an animal like a reptile having a common ancestor, well, that's not the same thing as saying a dog only gives birth to dogs. And I feel like that's muddying the water, in my opinion.
Okay. Wouldn't you say it's in the textbooks? Amoeba, and the answer has to be yes, because you've got lines going up to an elephant. And we never see that. Nobody's ever seen an amoeba produce anything other than an amoeba. So why did we jump to an amoeba turned into an elephant over millions of years? That's not science.
Well, I don't think that you have to directly observe with your own eyes in a human lifetime an animal changing, and it's not one animal changing into a different animal. Evolution deals with populations of animals changing through heritable genetics over long periods of time. But in science, an observation just means data that's gathered from an experiment, and it can also be an inferred observation. You can observe things based on evidence of stuff that's happened in the past, even if you weren't actually there to see it. So I think that we can learn things about like geology, like the layers of the earth, without having lived when those layers were forming. But I think that's still science, and I think it still applies to evolution, even if we didn't have it happen on the same time scale of a human lifetime.
Yeah, and this is the problem, I think. In 1830, Charles Lyell made up that idea that the layers of the earth are different ages. Where did it come from? Outer space? Because if it just got shifted around on the earth, if it just got shuffled on the earth, they're all the same age.
Well,
6,000 or 6 trillion.
Well, sorry. Well, I do think that the Earth is hit by meteorites all the time, so I don't know if that adds up very much rock matter, but yeah, I mean, some matter would come from outer space, but really it's not just shuffling. You have lava coming up from volcanoes that cools down and turns into rock. Do you think that that's new rock, or do you think that that lava and the rock that's on the Earth now are the same age? Because I would say that the lava cools and it forms new rock.
Well, it's recycled. It was already in the Earth. It got heated, spit out, cooled down, turned back to rock. It's still the same age. Every speck of dirt on the planet is the same age. Which is the 0.00001% of the Earth. It's extremely rare. And even then, you got the question: if meteors are flying around through space and they all came from this Big Bang, they're all the same age too. Everything's the same age, whether it's 6,000 or 6 trillion. Every speck of dirt in the universe. According to you, it came from a dot exploding. According to me, it came from God creating it. But the geologic column does not exist any place in the world except the textbook.
Well, I would say not according to me, because you're saying that I think that the matter should be the same age because there was matter forming at the Big Bang. But I don't think that there was matter when the Big Bang happened. Because the universe at that time was too hot to have atomic nuclei forming, so you didn't have like solids, liquids, and gases. You didn't have dust and gases, so you didn't have stars forming. Like, it wasn't until later that you had actual solid matter. So you didn't have all of the matter in the universe form when the Big Bang happened. So I don't think it's all the same age.
Well, the Big Bang didn't happen. The only evidence for the Big Bang is the fact that all of the stars seem to show a red shift, which appears to be the Doppler effect of the stars moving away from us. I would agree. There's reasonable scientific evidence to say the stars are moving away. That's the end of the evidence. After that, it's now interpretation. The Bible says 17 times that God stretched out the heavens. So I think the Christian has just a valid answer to say, well, God created the earth and then the stars, and then he stretched them out. And of course, we see them shifted toward the red with the Doppler effect of light. But you guys want to say, well, that proves they all came back to a single dot. If I saw a bunch of cars leaving a stadium after a football game, could I conclude that all the cars were in a dot on the 50-yard line? No. They're all leaving the stadium. They're all individual cars. So I've never had one of the atheists admit that what they believe is indeed a religious belief. It's not science. It's true. Stars have a red chip. And that's the end. After that, it's interpretation. It's true. There's a variety of dogs. You're probably going to make more. It is not true that dogs are related to frogs. You can believe that if you wish, and you're welcome to, but I don't think it's common sense. That's certainly not science. And I think it's really unfair to have you guys force all the students to learn that in school like it's part of science when it's not. It's simply a religious belief.
Well, I know that you don't think that the Big Bang happened, but I was explaining what my position is and what I think science says, or that cosmologists say, that you didn't have all of the matter in the universe forming at the Big Bang, because I've heard you say before that you couldn't compress all of the water on the Earth into a dot. You couldn't compress the Earth into a dot. But I think even you would say that scientists say that the Big Bang happens, but it's not until billions of years later that the Earth forms. And then you have a molten Earth, and then it cools off. It's not like the Earth was formed right after the Big Bang happened, but you say that evolutionists think that the Earth had to be compressed into a dot, or that water had to be compressed into a dot. So I feel like you're misrepresenting it.
Well, I show right from the textbook that all the matter in the universe was in a dot smaller than a period on a page. And you're welcome to believe that. But it's not science. I don't think it's common sense either. But it's certainly not science. It's a religious belief. There are lots of crazy religions in the world. I think the Muslim religion's pretty crazy. but they believe, they're welcome to believe. Then you're welcome to believe that matter didn't form until later. How would you prove such a thing?
Well, because the universe at that time, they're able to predict what the temperature, they predicted what the temperature of the universe was based on the cosmic microwave background. And they were able to predict it within an accuracy of about 2 Kelvin. So they know that cosmologists actually know a great deal of what the early universe was like about 300,000 years after the Big Bang happened. They know that the universe was too hot and dense for atomic nuclei to form. So you couldn't have atoms getting together and forming the structure that creates, you know, how you have solids, liquids, and gases. They have just different, they have atoms that are compressed, you know, like closer together in a solid and farther in a liquid, etc. You didn't have atoms coming together like that. So you couldn't have matter, you couldn't have solid matter, because it wasn't until later when the universe cooled down that you actually had solid matter forming.
Well, this is all theoretical, what you're saying. That could never be proven scientifically. And again, you're welcome to believe such a thing. Nobody's ever seen this happen. There's plenty of nuclear research laboratories, and they just can't turn energy into matter. You can turn matter into energy by blowing it up or burning it up, but the other way seems to be blocked. So it would have to be theoretical. You can say, I believe it happened. Okay. Fine. Believe whatever you want.
Well, if you're talking about like burning like a match or like a wood pile, that's not turning matter into energy. That's a chemical reaction. That's something different.
Okay. Every scientist in the world would disagree with you on that. We can turn a pile of wood into a pile of coal into energy. You get it started, reach the ignition point, and change the energy. But again, it doesn't go the other way. Something might seem to take the energy and capture it, turn it back into solid matter. Well, you'll be the first one ever to do that if you can. Challenge you to try.
Mass is equal to energy, though. That's what Einstein taught us.
Yeah, E equals mc squared. But is the equation reversible?
Yeah, because it's an equal sign, so that means it goes both ways.
Well, we've never been able to do it.
Well, that doesn't mean that Einstein's equations aren't true, though.
Well, two parents can get together to make a baby. Can the baby then go back and unmake the parents?
If it discovers time travel, maybe, but that would probably cause a causality loop, so I don't think so.
Well, I guess I'm curious, a bit much bigger picture. What are you trying to accomplish? What if everybody in the world believed like you? What if you do convince everybody to become an atheist? What have you accomplished? What good did this do?
Well, I would think that hopefully there would be less people killing each other based on different beliefs in God. Like you have Muslim acts of terrorism, or you have Christian terrorism, like the Crusades, or the IRA bombings and stuff like that. I would hope that there would be less violence based on people who having different religious beliefs, or people holding on to what I think are antiquated notions because that they're written in a book and the book cannot change. So you have things in the Bible saying like, well, homosexuals should be stoned. Homosexuality is inherently wrong. And I think if you have a society that's atheist, you don't have to cling to that belief. You can have society progress forward without having a religious text hold you back. And I'm not saying there's nothing good about religion, but I do think that if you look at secular societies, like if you look at countries that are mostly atheists, like around like Norway and stuff, they tend to have less crime and higher literacy rates than countries that are a majority religious population.
of a generalization. I think you find an awful lot of mass murderers were atheists because they didn't think there was ever going to be a God to judge them. I think you find a lot of evil down through history done by people who thought there's no judgment, I can do what I want. Hitler, very nominal Catholic, but didn't follow that much at all. Thought, hey, there's not going to be a judge over me. Stalin certainly was an atheist under communism. So that's a few billion people.
Well, do you think that they were evolutionists?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Stalin certainly was. That's how they justify communism, period. The strongest survive. But the results of a theory does not determine if it's right or wrong. I mean, I want to know what's the truth. And if it turns out that atheism is true, I'll take it. But so far, all the evidence indicates design of any kind demands a designer. If you walk through a gravel pit and you find an arrowhead, you immediately conclude somebody took a rock and chipped it into the shape of an arrowhead. It just doesn't happen by itself. And if you look at all the matter in the universe and find some of it is shaped into cells, which are more complex than the space shuttle, and you've got 100 trillion cells in your body, each one has about 100 trillion atoms. And who made the atoms shape to fit together and interact like they do? Why did the hydrogen and oxygen molecules on and expand 12% and ice floats? I look at science, and I love science, and I love studying nature and studying what God has made. To me, there's a designer. I have a problem with that. So I guess I'm concerned or why you do what you do. That's your business.
Well, I feel like you brought up more than one topic there, but I would like to comment on Stalin and Hitler for a second, because I'm a little bit confused when I hear you say that they were evolutionists, because both of them burned Darwin's books. And Stalin hired somebody to be basically the czar of farming, who was a guy named Lysenko. And Lysenko did not think that Darwin's beliefs were true at all. And in my opinion, I think that the reason so many people died in the Soviet Union was because Lysenko had these crazy beliefs about seeds. Like, he thought that you could store seeds in cold water and it would make them hardier for the next winter, and that he thought like seeds were like communistic, and if you had two seeds planted in the ground next to each other, they wouldn't steal nutrients from each other because of like sharing nutrients like communism. It was bizarre, but he thought that Darwin's beliefs about how organisms like plants grow were all wrong. So, and like I said, Stalin burned Darwin's book. So I just think that clashes with the idea that he was an evolutionist.
Well, I guess I could do some research on that. You know, my daughter-in-law is Russian, Ukrainian, and they had to grow up under this stuff, you know, under kind of, again, it would matter if truth is truth. And regardless of where it leads, it's the fact that, you know, hamsters produce baby hamsters, dogs produce baby dogs, there are no exceptions. So I'm just baffled why you guys have chosen to believe that it goes any further than that, when there's absolutely zero scientific evidence. What convinced you that mosquitoes are related to whales? We don't ever see a mosquito produce it. And you can take creatures that produce at a much faster rate, like bacteria. There's some bacteria that grow up and marry their babies in 20 minutes. So every hour you get 3 generations. So you get 75 generations a day. That's like millions of years of human evolution. Why don't we ever see bacteria produce something that is non-bacteria? So far, nobody's ever seen it.
Well, Kent, bacteria is like a kingdom. So, like, that would be like saying, why don't we ever see an animal produce something that is not an animal? Well, I'm not really sure how to answer a question like that. Like, inherently, a bacteria that's the category of bacteria is a kingdom. So it's like saying, how come we don't ever see a plant give birth to an animal? That's just not how nature works.
Do you believe have a common ancestor if we go back in time?
Yeah.
And what evidence would you have for that?
Genetics.
So could the fact that they have similar genetic structure, let's assume for a minute that that's true, could that be because they have the same person designed them and that God designed the brown cow to eat the green grass? This was not at least cow couldn't eat the grass. Cows don't eat other cows. I think it could be the similarity of organisms and similarity of DNA structure, et cetera, is so that they can be recycled. The brown cow can eat the green grass and give the white milk, and I can drink it and get the blonde hair. So, of course, I think that from a creationist perspective, the fact that there are similarities in DNA and similarities in chemical structure is wonderful. It's designed. Yeah, you guys have chosen to look at it the other way. I think it's a sad mistake for now. I think it's really going to be a sad mistake when you die, but that's up to you.
Well, what's the kind?
Well, the Bible says they bring forth after their kind. So if they originally could bring forth, they're the same kind. Now, they might have diversified now where they can't or have difficulty, like Chihuahua, Great Dane. But I think in 99.99% of the cases, a 4-year-old can tell you that's the same kind of animal. Going to that level of any argument is a sign, of desperation in my book. So, what's the kind? Do you guys believe a mosquito and a whale have a common ancestor? I say, guys, that's not science. Believe anything you want, but that is not science. It's never been observed. So, I love science. I think that evolution is polluting our science with nonsense. Nothing else is confusing the kids. Just teaching them to believe something that's just not observable. Science deals with what we can observe. Observe, study, test. So what's the inside of the moon made out of? I don't know. We can go up there and maybe put off a few hand grenades and do a seismograph and get some good guesses on that. But if science is limited to what we know and observe and study and test. We know dogs produce baby dogs. That's been observed all over the world. We do not know that dogs in factories have a common ancestor because nobody's ever seen this ancestor. And nobody's ever seen any plant or animal produce something radically different than what everybody else would consider the same kind. If you want to argue on that minutia, strain an ant and swallow a camel, you're welcome to do that. Hey, Jake, bigger question. Were you raised in any kind of church? Do you have any kind of background in Christianity or any kind of religion?
Well, I went to a Sunday school. I went to a church called Crossroads when I was a kid, and also I live in San Antonio, so there's a mega church called Cornerstone here, who's Pastor John Hagee, and I would go to that church too. But I stopped going when I was pretty young, like in middle school.
Well, I would have to disagree on several things with John Hagee, but I think he loves the Lord. I just disagree theologically with him. Okay, well, this is my number. You can call me anytime. I'll be glad to help you, or I'll be glad to debate you if you'd like. And if you continue posting anti-Kent Hovind videos, of course, I have to defend myself.
Sure, that's totally fair, I think.
Yeah, if somebody's accusing me of lying, okay, be specific. Where exactly did I lie? And pointed out, because that would be slander. I mean, in any court of law, you could get sued and lose everything you own for slandering somebody without having evidence.
Well,
if I started going around saying AJ is a pedophile and he murders babies, well, I don't believe that, but if I said that publicly, you could sue me for slander.
Yeah, I'm not though. I'm not Chris Jones, so I'm not a pedophile. But I'm curious, Ken, if you want me to be specific, could I ask you? I've heard you talk about your dissertation, and you've said that how it was you transcribed your seminar. But I've been reading a document that's from CSE that was called Seminar Transcript, And that one is almost like a word-for-word text version of the seminar. But so I'm wondering if, when you're talking about the dissertation, that there might be some confusion between these two documents, and I know they were written like back in the 90s, and I was just curious about that, because the seminar transcript, I know a lot of people like to point out that the dissertation starts out saying, "Hello, my name is Kent Hovind," but this other seminar transcript, it doesn't start that way, so it's a different thing, and I was just curious about that.
Well, first of all, you didn't on Christian is not guilty of anything. He did spend time in prison. He was falsely accused, but that happens all the time. He didn't murder anybody. He's not a pedophile. He's a longtime friend of mine. He's welcome here anytime, and you're welcome here anytime. Come visit us or vigilant, so don't slap and run on my friend Chris Jones. Secondly, 1989, I moved to Pensacola for my wife to finish college, and I started speaking on creation. We created the seminar, kept adding to it. I'm still adding to it every day. I look for new material to add. I try to improve and tweak, and so I don't know which version of it. Many people have transcribed it. Many. So I don't know which one you're looking at. If there are some differences between the two different ones, that's common sense. Because I add stuff or delete stuff or improve things, so I don't understand the question. But when you get to that point where you're debating against a document, Aristotle said that that there's a discussion about a document that the benefit of the doubt goes to the document, not to the critic. The document can't defend itself. I did specifically what they asked. I transcribed my seminar and then modified it to fit, and it's now a book, not a video, so I changed a little bit of wording in there. But they were happy with it, and if people were like my degree, okay, no problem. Call me Bubba, call me Cat, call me Hey You. But this is an ad hominem attack, which is obvious sign someone's losing the debate on the issues. Where is the evidence for evolution? Nobody's ever seen what you guys are talking about. I showed the charts right from the book. They have lines connecting an elephant and a mosquito. This is not common sense. This is not science. It's stupid. So, my opinion is, evolution's a religion that you're welcome to believe in. But you teach it in public schools, I think is criminal. It's wrong. Evil. I'm going to try to stop it.
Yeah. Well, I would personally think that saying that I'm a pedophile casually and then moving on as a slap and run. And Chris Jones was convicted on 6 different counts of lewd act with children under the age of 12. But when it comes to the seminar transcript, I was just saying that there was 2 different documents. That's all. And
okay. Yes, you made a slap at Chris Jones and moved on to a different topic. Exactly what you're accusing me of doing.
Well, you're the one who called me a pedophile, Kent.
I did not.
Kent, come on. I'm not stupid, Kent. Don't talk to me like I'm stupid.
I am recording this, okay?
So am I.
Good. I did not. I said if I called you a pedophile, that would be slander, and I could be sued if I couldn't prove it. And so what's happening in the textbooks, they are saying that all animals are related, and that's not provable. You can believe that if you wish. And you believe whatever you want. No. We can call Chris right now. Would you like to talk to Chris and get his side of the story, or do you care?
No, I think that was already settled in the courts. But I mean, I just think that saying, well, if I called you this, like if I said that you were a wife beater, Kent, then that could be slander. Well, I might not be directly calling you that, but that's obviously rude. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying, Kent. Like, it just seems like I'm not the one slapping and running. You're obviously insulting me by saying that, even if you're not directly saying me. That's backhanded.
I hated that these generally degenerate into ad hominem attacks.
You're the one who suggested I was a pedophile, Kent.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
Go back and listen. AJ, I said...
I know what you're trying to do, Kent. I'm not stupid. Don't talk to me like I'm fucking stupid, Kent. You called me a fucking pedophile. I think we're done. We're done, Kent. We're done.
Well, you need to learn some English.
Shut up.